Right, welcome back everybody. Today we're going to be changing the fuel filter on this 2014 Vauxhall Vivaro, and if we've got time we're going to do a coolant change on it as well. So I've bought 5 litres of coolant, so I don't think it's ever been done this on this van. This was meant to be part of the service which I've done a few videos back. I'll leave a link down below for the service that I've done on this van, but they didn't have the fuel filter in stock at the time, so I've purchased one now, and the fuel filter is just under the passenger seat under the van. So depending on if it's been changed, your filter, I reckon it's still the original one on there. I've had a quick look underneath and you can actually separate the pots on these, but on the later ones I believe, the Vivaros, you can't actually change the filters. They're actually a built-in thing. Where they're normally screwed around the top, they're actually crimped in. So I've got to say, I haven't had a quick little look, so I've got an original one at the minute, and that's the filter there. You do get yourself a new rubber O-ring there, and you do get some more bolts, torque bolts as well. So, as I say, on the later ones, they have put the solid fitment filters in where you can't actually change the filter, you have to buy the complete unit. And I believe that's what they're doing now onto this model as well. If you do take it into a garage, they don't bother changing just the filter now, they change the complete unit. So apparently it is getting a bit harder to get hold of these filters, I say, because they are doing that system where they just change the whole unit. So we'll go under the van now, we'll take a look, get it disconnected, hopefully bring it out and get all this swapped over. So let's get under the van. Right, so we come under the van now. As I say, you can just see we're just behind that front wheel there. I've got the van jacked up, it's on a stand as well, so just always put a stand there. So there's the front driver's wheel, and the filter's just there, look, just behind the passenger front door. And it still looks like the original one. As you can see, it's got a 10mm bolt there on that bracket. It's a Renault part, so I'm just going to give that a bit of lubrication, give it a bit of a wire brush, and it's not too bad. I mean, I've seen online people with a lot worse situation. This one hasn't rusted too bad, to be fair. But before we start to try and undo that bolt, on the top here, I don't know if you can see, we've got a little electrical connector which is sprung loaded. It just clicks. Once you hear the click, you can pull it off then. So I've just put that out of the way for now, and it's a bit tight under here to try and show you everything. Right, so I don't know if you can see there, we've got a white little tab there. I don't know if you can see that little white tab there, and I believe the one at the back's green, but on the white tab on the opposite side you've got another tab, and what you need to do is get your thumb and your finger and just squeeze in both tabs, and that will just lift straight up then. I'm going to have to put the camera down to do that because I need both hands, so let me just squeeze them 2 white tabs in and I'll come back to you. Right, so I've just literally squeezed them in and they just lift off like that. You might get a little bit of diesel spillage, you shouldn't get too much. And just remember, when you take these pipes off, which way they went on the filter, because you don't want to be putting them on back to front, because I don't know if they're the same size or different size, so they might just squeeze on any one. So just always bear in mind the white one's at the front, and when I take the other pipe off, I'll leave them in the position. So I'll always leave this one at the front and the other one at the back. So let me just do the same, squeeze these 2 clips in, and I'll be back with you. Right, so that's squeezed, and again, just pull it up, out the way. So as you can see now, I've got the white at the front and the green at the back, so I know which position they go in. So what I'll start doing now is we'll have a go at this little bolt here. So I'm on there with 10mm. There we go, that's coming off nicely. That could have been a lot of hassle, that. So it is not a bad job actually, this. And these filters normally get looked over when people do services. I don't know why the cabin filter and the fuel filters always don't get changed on the service for some reason. People just normally do the oil filter, the oil, spark plugs if you've got a petrol engine, air filter, and just the basic stuff. They don't tend to do the fuel filters and the cabin filters, I've noticed. Right, so that's that bolt undone there. It might be a bit wobbly because I couldn't fit the tripod under here. So we just pop that there. pull that bracket open, and then that should just lift out. Bearing in mind it's going to be full of diesel this, so don't trip it up. Right then, so as you can see, you've got 5 torque bits here. Just come off. And just remember, this is going to be topped up with diesel, as I said a minute ago. So I've got myself a little carton out here that I can tip the diesel into. You do get all these new screws in the fitting kit. Now I say, where we're taking these screws out now, on the later ones, the screws ain't there. They're like compressed little tabs in there, so you can't do none of this. Also, I've just remembered you've got this tab on the bottom. This should only be hand tight. You need to unscrew this, I believe, because that screws and holds it in. And this is where you want your tub underneath, because you will start losing diesel through here. Just bear that in mind. Here we go, see? And there comes the diesel. That's why you want gloves on, really. You don't want all this over your hands. Just pop that bit off of there for now. There's quite a bit of diesel, as you can see. And there we go. That's the top off. So we can just put that there. Let that last bit drain out of there. Your finger in there and just pull that up. Look, here it comes. There it comes. And that is that out. So I'll probably say that is probably the original filter in there. You can see we've got our new one there. That's the difference. So it's well due a change. This little plastic bit is dropped in there in the diesel. I'm not worried about that. So I'm just going to put this over here out of the way for the minute. There's a few little bits in that diesel, nothing too mad. So I'm just going to quickly give this casing a quick wash out. Right then, so that's the pot, had a nice clean inside. Just use a bit of a brake cleaner for that. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to drop this new filter in, push that right down, put that little bit back in there where it belongs, and then in our bag of bits, get a new O-ring for your bottom plug. I'll replace that with a new one. And as I said before, this little plug is to drain your fuel, but it also holds your filter in, I believe. And this just wants to be hand tight. You don't want to go mad with this, with no grips or nothing. So that just wants to be hand tight. That's that one in, so we've got an old filter there. You've got a new O-ring, which comes off of your cap. Again, just something in there, lever it off. Quite loose that one is now, so just push that one on. That's that done. So you can put your lid on. You can see you've got a flat spot where your lids go, so you can't really get that wrong. Making sure all your screw holes line up, which they do. Then you have this jacket that comes from the bottom and slides up, and that's what your screws screw into. So there we go. I won't bother putting that fuel back in because I say there are a few bits in it, and I don't want to start putting that in there. Well, then there'll be no point changing the filter otherwise. And these screws actually come with washers on as well, so that's quite handy because the other ones didn't. And they're actually the same size screws, which doesn't happen very often. Normally when you buy a part, you normally get different size screws on it. So I'll put these washers in, get all the screws lined up, and I've just noticed on here, I'll just show you in a second, that if you did get mixed up, you've actually got the arrows on there, look, so that's coming in and that's your output nozzle. So if you did did get mixed up, there's always that to refer on. And remember, when we did put this in when we did take this out from the cage, this electrical connector was facing towards the back of the van as well. So just something to remember there. Right, so you can see we're back under the van now. I've got the filter here, so I've just pushed that back into where it belongs. And we just need to get that bolt on now. So I'm just going to put you down for a minute while I get that bolt zipped up, and I'll come back to you before we start connecting the fuel parts back up and the electrics. Right then, so as you can see, we've got our two hoses. And I've just lifted that one over the back one. You have to excuse me hands. So just push that down. There you go, you heard the click. And again with the front one, again, and the click. Just try and lift them up, that's perfectly fine. And then you've got your electrical connector, which just goes on. And again, a click. Give it a wiggle. So that is the fuel filter all done, all changed on this Vauxhall Vivaro. It's the same as the Renault Trafics. This is from 2014 to 2019, I believe. But it's really clean under this fan. It's a really nice example under here. So as I say, we can head up to top now. I'll prime the ignition a couple of times to let that fuel pump work it, and hopefully that should be job done under here. So, and then what we'll quickly do now is probably try and drain the coolant as well and do an antifreeze change as well. So let's just prime this pump a couple of times, see if it starts, and then we'll do the antifreeze. Right then, so we're in the truck now. I'm just going to put the key on, let that fuel prime up. I can hear it running. You can still hear it priming. Yep, still priming. Should do that stop in a minute. There we go, that's stopped. So I will just give it one off, one on, that's it, it's fully primed now. And there we go. So there's no airlock there. So what we'll do now, and as me regular viewers know, I always clean as I go along. So that's a lovely clean filter housing now, and it also helps to identify if there's any leaks as well. So that's all lovely and bone dry. I'm happy with that. That's another job sorted on this Vauxhall Vivaro. So let's move on with the coolant. Right, so we're under the car now. As you can see, I've just pulled this clip back from the front of this pipe, and I'm going to drain the water from here. It's the lowest part, so we've got a good chance of getting it all out. And just make sure you catch it in a bucket and discard of this stuff appropriately. I've took the cap off at the top as well, because these are pressurised systems. So I'm just going to go ahead and wiggle that pipe off. And just bearing in mind, if you have had your vehicle running, this will be hot water. So there we go. Right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to quickly flush the system while we've got that hose off. I'm just going to blast it through with the air, water pipe. Just see if there is any debris in the engine, hopefully we can flush all that out. And I can hear it draining at the bottom. So we're going around the system. Let's leave that there for a minute, let's double check underneath. Right, I'm happy with that now, because that water's running out clear underneath there, so we can just head back under the van now. I'm just going to quickly put that pipe back on. We'll get the van back on all four wheels, and then we'll fill this coolant up, and hopefully we'll run it for a bit, and hopefully once it's up to temperature we'll feel a bit of warm air coming through the air vents as well. So let me just put this pipe back on and I'll come back to you. Right then, so that's the pipe back on. We're back on all four wheels. Now I'm just going to go ahead and drop my antifreeze coolant in. Alright, so I'm just going to quickly start the engine now and let this start moving around. So we've got this running now. I've got the cap off and I've got the heaters blowing on full blast into the cabin. This is already pre-mixed this, so you ain't got to worry about adding water and all that. So we're just going to let that do its thing. I can see it circulating back around the system already. As you can see, it's not gone down much now. We're still up to level. You can see it returning around the system. So we've just got to wait for it to warm up a bit. You can hear I've got all the blowers on and that's coming out hot already, that. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to leave it running though for another 5 minutes, because as you can see, I believe that little, oh, it's just gone out now. There's a little blue light there to say that the engine's still cold, so that's gone out now. So that should mean it's up to temperature. Right, so as you can see, my coolant's dropped now. At the back there, there's a little like a bleed nipple. It's like a tyre valve. You just unscrew it and the fluid will start coming out. So as you can see, it's a bit wet around there. So we've got all the air out of there. But as you come, where is it? Here, I've just took the little cap off, look, little like a tyre valve cap. And as you can see, there's nothing coming out of there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this up again, this canister, the header tank. And hopefully we should start seeing some stuff come out of there. Like I say, I'm trying to do all this one by myself, recording and pouring in, so I might make a bit of a mess. Right, so we're looking for it to come out of there. So I'm still pouring in. I'm not even filling the tank yet. Here we go, here we go. So I'm happy with that. So we can get that cap back on now. And then we'll fill the rest of this tank up. So that'll do there. So I'm going to stick this lid back on again. We'll go for a start up. I'll come back and try and bleed that again in a minute. So right there folks, so that is the system all bled up now. Just don't forget, if you do come to do this yourself, you do have that little bleed nipple at the back there, and you do have one just under this, just left to the cooling bottle. So what you want to be aiming for is to make sure there's no air coming out of there, so you want fluid coming out of them taps basically. And once you've done that, fill the top up as well. And what I've done is I stayed in the van for a couple of minutes with the van on about 2,500–3,000 revs, and that just got the engine warm and got all the water moving around the system. And I come back out and it did need a little bit more, so I did top it up, checked the bleed nipples again, water was running out of them perfectly fine. And I've done the same system again. I sat in the van for a minute or two with the revs up a bit, and come out and the water's sitting where it is, and the hot air is roasting in there, so it's going to be really good for the winter. That all I need to do now is get the air constant. So I'll just bring you in and show you we are up to level in there. It's really nice tidy engine bay this. So this fan has had a full service now. So if you haven't already, check out the other playlist on this Vauxhall Vivaro where we're converting it into a day van. And we're only on the early process of that. We've just done the windows. I've got a solar panel to fit on the roof. We're going to be getting a skylight, doing the 4-way stretch carpet all around. So if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, ring that bell so you know when we've dropped out a new video. And until next time, we'll see you about.